Hello, I'm MC Toon, and it's Tuesday night, and we've got a debate tonight. It's a debate between, not me, between Robert Greenlee and Andrew Pickett. Now, both of them have been on this on my show before, so here we are. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good. Oh, good, man.
All right, let me. I want to get you centered in screen there, Andrew. All right. So why don't you just take a minute, just both of you, to introduce yourselves, and then we'll get going. Start with Robert.
Sure. Robert Greenlee. I think many of you have seen him before. I always laugh about this. I run the largest official flat Earth and globe discussion group on the internet after Nathan Thompson got his sucked. Not very proud about that because it's pretty easy to create a group. But I still love rubbing in Nathan's face.
You should update the signature on your emails.
and I did want to reach out to Nathan and see if he'd sell me all his old clothing with a patch on it.
I want some of that clothing.
He's hard up for money, so all right. I'm
about to go make me some flat Earth attire.
All right, Andrew, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm just my name is Andrew. I go into the social medias, this one particular, and I do my best at arguing a flat Earth versus a globe. So, my argument for the globe is one of the biggest arguments I have, and it's not a question that's ever been answered. I don't care how many times people think that they have answered it. And it has to do with our temperature of space. Now, it's said to be 455 degrees negative Fahrenheit. Now, there's a thing with hydrogen and helium, and that's the number one molecule in space. And apparently the boiling point temperature is negative 452 degrees, which is just a few degrees under. And hydrogen freezes at negative 432 degrees. So there's like this fine line that these molecules have to be within where they're not boiling and they're not freezing. And the temperature of space is 455 degrees, which is just 3 degrees over. So anything under 455 degrees, you're either going to have boiling hydrogen molecules or you're going to have freezing hydrogen molecules. And that right there, to me, is a big, big no-no for space. For space, man. Like I don't think you can have your cake and eat it at the same time. Like at some point, you're gonna have to like answer for this stuff. And I bring a lot of questions. I ask a lot of things. I give a few statements about things, and it's just like at some point, these things rise and they need a question, they need answered. And guys like me, you see this and you come into these groups and you ask these questions, and I love this group. This is one of my favorite groups. This is one of the reasons why I even said, hey, let's go ahead and do this discussion, because I love talking science. You know, regardless, hey, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, doesn't matter. I do love science. I study it all the time. I study flat Earth, globe Earth. It's like, it's a big thing in my life, but this is one of the biggest questions that I think that I've raised in these groups that's not ever been answered. And I want to know, you know, like what it is, why and how hydrogen, and how it can boil at 452 degrees, but the temperature of space is 455 degrees negative Fahrenheit.
So I guess we're going to jump right into it, and this definitely isn't my area of expertise, but if you're in space, which is a vacuum, let's just say, you're, I don't know, say you're at the moon. How many
Well, it's
molecules?
a near vacuum. It's not quite a vacuum. So,
Correct. I agree with you. I agree with you. So, say, because this, obviously the recent report that flat earthers grab onto is the moon is inside of our atmosphere. Well, at the moon's distance, how many molecules of hydrogen are there in a cubic meter, cubic centimeter?
Well, there would be quite a bit, but there's still that space.
What's quite a bit?
Well, I mean, there's quite a bit, but there's still the space. The space between each molecule is considered the vacuum of space.
Agreed, yes. Yeah.
Right. So now that's what makes it not a vacuum, is because of the space, the little bit of space that's there. So now you have a vacuum, a near vacuum, which isn't completely a vacuum. The moon is supposed to be supposedly within the atmosphere. So how far out does this atmosphere extend? Because, well, apparently for the Blue Origin, space is 62 miles up. So anywhere from 62 miles to 29,000, whatever it is, the distance from the Earth to the moon. I mean, like, you got your troposphere, you got your mesosphere, you got your thermosphere, you got your exosphere. The exosphere is said to be 7,000 miles wide. Now that's radiation. That's a radiation layer that separates Earth's atmosphere from outer space. Now that's what it's been said. Now, all of the sudden, for some reason, you got space at 62 miles up.
And you understand that different countries basically set the boundary of space. It's not like here's a wall or here's a dome.
Right.
All of a sudden you're in space. It's an arbitrary value in different countries. Basically, say different things.
I understand that 100%. But still, also at the same time, that arbitrary value has been the exosphere, which is 7,000 miles wide.
Says who?
You can pull it up anywhere. I've had plenty of footnotes all over my phone that show that.
Yeah, I mean, the most widely adopted one is 100 kilometers up is the edge of space. So really, with the point that it's finding very difficult to measure any bit of the atmosphere that's left over.
Right. I honestly agree. But the thing though is like the exosphere is said to be the Van Allen belt. It's basically the Van Allen belt that surrounds Earth's atmosphere. So when Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong traveled to the moon, now they asked them questions. What was the radiation? Did you experience any kind of radiation? They said no. So no radiation was ever experienced.
Yeah. What would they experience? I mean, I've been through, I hate to say this, I've been through too many x-rays and MRIs, and never once did I feel the radiation.
Right. I get that.
What would they expect them to say?
I get that, but maybe it would be more of like a harsh environment. There's a video on on NASA, and there's this guy talking about the new module they're going to send through the radiation layer, and they're building shielding for this module to make it through this intense radiation layer. So you got, at the same time, you got in 2000 when they're talking about this, and then the 1970s, people were asking Neil Armstrong, well, what was the radiation like? And what was the experience like? And then you got in 2000 where NASA's stating that they are building shielding. Why would you build shielding if you're not? What would you plan to experience within the radiation layer if you're going to put shielding on, or if you're not going to use shielding? What's the purpose of shielding?
Is the shielding for the people or for the equipment and the computers?
I imagine it'd be for everything.
Yeah. Well, more specifically, what he was talking about is for the computers themselves, because the computers in the 1970s were these huge transistors and vacuum tubes. I mean, literally a transistor, basically like that big.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, the equivalent in our microprocessors are down to the nanometers. So
Yeah.
the computers today are much more susceptible to the radiation than the solid state of the old computers back in the day. So that's what they're worried most about is, if your flight computer you're going along to the nanobelts and it gets hit by a little bit of radiation or maybe a sunspot, and it just blows out the memory in that part of the computer, your
Right.
computer just went offline during a critical phase of flight. So they're
Well,
not
I
as
mean,
worried for
I
the
can understand
human
that.
because the
I can
radiation
understand that.
itself is equivalent to a couple of X-rays as long as they plan it the right path. But
Right.
that radiation can drop the computers offline. And if you look at, it's kind of funny because you look at some of the computers on the ISS and you're like, holy crap, they're still running Windows XP, and these laptops are 20 years old. And that's because those machines were certified back
Right.
then.
Okay.
And then it takes a lot of work to certify and harden new modern computers. So
Okay.
a lot of the
Okay.
equipment on board the ISS is really old stuff compared to what we have because it takes that long to certify it for the environment of space.
Okay. Well, okay, you make a good point there, but also at the same time, what kind of shielding did they use to travel through the Van Allen belt in the 70s if they're working on shielding in 2000s to make it through the Van Allen belt? What protected their equipment then that doesn't protect the equipment now?
Again, the key point is that the computers back then weren't as susceptible to the radiation as the computers today. So they didn't require as much
How
shielding.
is that?
I just explained it a minute ago. You're going from, microprocessors that you could actually measure and see with your eyeball to ones that are now in the nanometer.
Okay, so now when they're building this module, they have glass windows and they have shutter that close over the glass windows. Well, all it is a little rod and a knob, and the only thing that separates the little rod and the knob from outer space is a rubber bushing.
You'd have to show me an example of what you're talking about or explain it a little bit better.
Okay,
I understand what you're saying.
So you know how you have windows and shutters that go over the windows, that close over the windows, that make, all right, so it kind of like protects maybe the sunlight.
Yeah.
Or it just shuts it off completely from any kind of light or anything, okay? So in order for them to close that on the outside of the spaceship, there's a rod that goes through the inside of the spaceship, okay? And while it's going through the inside of the spaceship, there's a little rubber bushing that they put to block what? Radiation? What is it? What is that going to do?
I think it's a lot more complicated than that. And I don't know. And Mike, I could just ask you just if you've ever seen it. I've seen the diagrams, example of the ISS cupola, of how there's like 3 different panes of glass and how they're insulated. But I don't think it's just a simple little rod like you would have, I don't know, outside your RV camper that just pushes it in and out. I think it's a very complicated mechanism.
Well, I seen a video. I seen the video of I can't even Chris Petit or whatever the heck his name is, and he was given a walk around inside the cupola, and he was demonstrating on how they was closing the windows. And there was a guy, he was asking him, he made a very valuable point, and that point was like the rubber bushing that it took to block outside space from the inside oxygen of the cupola.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if I can find anything, but we could probably.
There's some kind of rod that closes that window.
Yeah.
All right, and it goes to the outside of the spaceship. Okay, and so they have to have something there that blocks radiation from entering into the cupola or oxygen from leaking outside the cupola.
All right, let's look
at those little holes, those little pinpoints. That makes a big difference, especially when you're traveling through 1,000 miles an hour through radiation, through space.
Yeah, let's take a look, Mike. If you don't mind, I'm going to share it for just a second.
Give me a second.
I found a close up, and at least we can just take a look. I'm going to kind of zoom way in here.
Is that Robert Greenlee?
I wish. Yeah, you can certainly see here. It's not just some push rod that's going out there and moving that mechanism.
No.
Probably something that's geared.
No,
Let me come over.
it's actually, yeah, these right here,
Yeah.
Okay, so inside there's a rod or something that has a knob and it turns. You turn this knob and it closes those into, like, say a rock come out of nowhere and just busted that glass. Well, how are you going to seal that off? Well, these things right here seal that off. Well, what does it take to seal that off? Well, you need a design. Well, a rod. That rod is you're going to have to, how many cranks is it going to take before space just sucks you out of that cupola?
Well, it's a good question too, but what's the difference in pressure between the inside of the ISS and the outside?
Well, according to how space has been designed, is that the pressure in space is barely none. So it's almost nothing. But there's still a little pressure there, but it's basically nothing. It's not anything that I don't know if you could even experience it unless you just took off your mask or whatever and tried to breathe and then realized, well, I can't breathe because there's no PSI in the air.
Yeah, but what's the difference in PSI between inside the ISS and the outside of space?
Well, the inside the ISS would have to match your lung capacity. You would have to match the 14.2 PSI that your lungs need to breathe.
Correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So
just to be clear, it's
the
actually
outside
less. It's actually less. It's not full 14.
Well, I mean, you could actually train your body to breathe less PSI and take more PSI. I mean, you can't. I mean, I don't know if it's like an extreme amount, but you could possibly breathe with less PSI. Yes, I agree with that.
So here's a kind of an interesting factoid, Andrew. Do you know what the PSI is inside of the spacesuits when they go on spacewalks?
It would have to match the human anatomy. You would have to match that.
Actually, no. If they were to blow up a spacesuit to almost 15 PSI, they would be like the Michelin Man, and they wouldn't be able to move. It would be so stiff. So the spacesuits, if I remember correctly, are only aired up to about 5 PSI. And for that reason is why they have to pre-breathe oxygen. They use different mechanisms now, but they have to pre-breathe oxygen so that it's basically pure oxygen to them as they're in the spacesuit. Otherwise, they would basically not get enough oxygen. So
okay, so
you can't adapt. And it even looks like this. I was going to kind of go to another topic, but once we get there. But even as you climb up, so what's the highest you've ever climbed up a mountain, as an example?
Not very high, man.
Yeah.
I do understand that the more height, the more altitude, the windier it gets. So like I've been 80 feet in the air, and I understand that the wind pressure is a lot more than it would be on ground level.
Can I just to interrupt real quick? I was incorrect. The ISS is at 14.7, but inside space, inside space suits is much less. So
so it's a good segue, Andrew. So because we kind of debated about this a couple weeks ago. When you go up in elevation, what happens to the air pressure?
The atmospheric pressure, I believe it changes, but as far as the wind pressure, it becomes it's large. The windier, the higher. The higher you go, the windier it gets. The more air pressure there is. Now, as far as let's say atmospheric pressure, as far as hydrogen and what's in the atmosphere, that might decrease the higher you go.
Okay. But you're saying, I'm going to make sure I understand. So it seemed like you just agreed that the higher you go, the atmospheric pressure gets lower, correct?
Yeah, I think I would say the atmospheric pressure would get lower.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you.
But I believe that the actual air pressure increases.
Explain the difference between atmospheric pressure and air pressure, because I'm a little confused.
Well, atmospheric pressure is, I would say, is like the combination of gases. So the more gases you have in the atmosphere, the more pressure you're going to have at a lower altitude. Now, the less gases you have, the higher altitude, you can still have high air pressure, less atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't know. I'm still confused. Like,
So
you're not really
the higher
explaining
you
the
go,
difference between the two.
okay, so the higher you go, the less gases are in the air.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now we have an understanding, right? So the lower you go, the more gases are in the atmosphere, which creates a more atmospheric pressure. So
Correct.
the higher you go, the higher the winds come, the winds raise. You can have great wind pressure in a high gas pressure area, and you can have high air pressure in a low gas area, a low gas pressure area.
Can you have 100-mile-per-hour winds in a low pressure area?
In a low atmospheric pressure area, yes, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if we look at I was just going to share my screen again real fast. Oops, where'd it go? I lost my Zoom console. Where'd it go? There it is. This is just a basic engineering chart showing air pressure. But if we start out, basic sea level, we got that 14.7 psi. And if we start climbing up, for example, if you're climbing a 14,000-foot mountain, it's only now 8.29 psi.
Yeah, so like what you're measuring there, I believe, is more like on a oxygen, carbon, all gases are on that level. So you're going to have a mixture of that. So the higher you go, you're going to have less gases because
I guess you can say less molecules per cubic, whatever you want to call it. There's less molecules of air
per cubic meter the higher you go. Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah.
Now,
so, go ahead.
But that also goes. But the way I see that is because of a container. So inside of a container, you're gonna have your solid gas. Say I fill a jug of gas up. I got my solid gas at the bottom. I'm gonna have my gas molecules at the top of that. Now it's all gas molecules, but one is a solid, one is a gas. So, but you know what I mean. Okay, So we got the solid gas and we got the atmospheric gas. Okay, So now what I have in that container is my solid gas, and it's at the bottom of the container. Then I got my gaseous gas at the top. Say that layers itself. Yeah. And the higher it goes, it does this even within the atmosphere. Even inside of a container, it does this.
So at what altitude do we have a solid gas in our atmosphere?
I don't think that you really can have a solid gas in the atmosphere the higher you go. I think all the liquid gas is on ground level. Mainly.
Yeah. So it sounds like you can only have a solid gas if you put it under pressure instead of having like a tank.
Well, it's definitely going to be under pressure for sure. It has to be.
Yeah, but in our atmosphere, this is sticking to our atmosphere. You think there's a dome? We have this dome over our atmosphere holding it in. Wouldn't we have equal pressure from the ground all the way up to the dome?
No, you're not going to have equal pressure. That's just like the solid gas inside the gas container. It's more pressure at the bottom of the gas container than there is at the top of the gas container.
Okay, but you just said that there is no solid gas in the atmosphere.
Right.
So it's just atmosphere. So help me understand. You're thinking of why do we have a pressure gradient that goes from 14.7 at the sea level, and as you go up, it basically keeps going down until you get close to vacuum.
Right, because the gases that weigh sink. So anything that is outside of that weight that is going to connect with other molecules is going to drag down. And anything that doesn't is going to raise up.
Have you ever scuba dived before?
Does this? You can literally do this with a gas can. You
Sure,
can literally do this with a gas can. Just one gas can.
Yeah. So have you ever scuba dived before?
No.
You should try it. So one of the things I've been scuba diving, oh God, probably 20 something years.
It would be pretty fun though. I wouldn't mind doing that. It'd be on. It's like a bucket list thing, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. But one of the things when you scuba dive is every 33 feet you go down is another atmosphere of pressure. So say it's 14.7 psi at the surface of the water, you go down 33 feet, now it's 30 psi, you go down another 30 feet, now it's 45 psi. Exactly. So the water is all intermixing. It's not like there's in the atmosphere, we could say, there's a higher concentration of oxygen in here and more hydrogen up here, but in the ocean, the water is all mixing together and it kind of takes away that theory. So if I'm just going down 30 feet, 33 feet, why is the water pressure double than it was up at sea level?
Water pressure doubles because the fact that it's water. The more weight, the more water there is, the more weight there is.
I agree.
It creates pressure. Pressure.
All right. So if we equate
when you're talking about atmosphere and water, you're taking away the hydrogen molecules or all the gases combined. You're taking away all that weight and you're turning it into just hydrogen and helium.
Yeah. So
okay, so just
in the ocean,
when you were talking about space, you got just hydrogen and helium up here, and then you got at the bottom of the ocean at 33 psi. At 33 psi, you have all the molecules just compressed together.
Yeah. So I think we're in agreement there. So if we take that analogy of the ocean and we take it back up to the atmosphere, is our atmospheric pressure at 14.7 psi at sea level because of the weight of all the air above it pushing down?
Yes.
Good. All right. So if I had a container and actually this is take a car tire, for example. If I start inflating the car tire, that pressure is going to equally push out against the outside of that container, right?
Right. It's going to expand.
If I measure pressure anywhere along the outside of that tire, it's going to be, say I have a tire at 35 psi. It's going to be 35 psi pretty much all around the tire.
Exactly.
All right. So why isn't the air pressure from, go away, Siri. Oh, she's yelling at me.
Well, there's a big difference there because the way atmospheric pressure layers itself, the way it gradients is different than how you're going to air up your tire because it's prorated for 35 psi. So it has to be 35 psi for the tire to function the way it needs to. All right. The Earth has to gradient itself for it to function the way it needs to. You're not gonna pressure everything up to 33 psi and expect life to live. You can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. So in order for animals to live below sea level, they're not gonna swim up to the shore and say, hey, I can survive in 14.7 psi. It's just not possible. I'm not going to swim to the bottom of the ocean with no scuba gear and say I can live in 33.5 psi. That's not reasonable.
Yeah. So with one more follow-up question on that. So it seems like you're trying to say that the pressure gradient is due to the mix of gases, right?
Yeah, it does. It has to do with the mix of gases.
Yeah. So here's an experiment. I want to kind of move on to the next topic. The experiment for you is: do you think there's a pressure gradient in the room you're sitting in?
The pressure gradient in the room I'm sitting in. Well, I believe that in the room I'm sitting in is the gradient level that I'm in. Yeah. So that 14.7 psi is like sitting inside the ISS at 350 miles up.
Is the pressure greater at your feet or rather at the floor versus at the top of your head, at the ceiling?
Honestly, I really wouldn't. Honestly, I don't even think there would be enough to measure that. I think that you're going to have to go within like thousands of feet or hundreds of feet to really measure a difference.
Do you want to try it? Let's do an experiment here. Because I like doing actual experiments. Give me just 1 second. Looks like Mike's already trying to do it, but give me a chance, Mike. Give me just 1 second here. Let me bring it up. Oh my goodness, Siri, go away. Give me 1 second to.
Okay, I found this on the web feed.
Be quiet, Siri. Okay, I don't know why Siri's going crazy. Give me 1 second.
He does that sometimes.
Yep. So
If she didn't go crazy, I probably wouldn't have her around.
yep. I don't usually use Siri, so I don't know what she's complaining about here. Oh,
Well, we can give her whatever name we want to, but
yeah.
I thought so.
Oh my goodness, this thing's being annoying. Okay, I'm connected. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Cool. All right. Sorry, Mike. I gotta share again. Well, let's just experiment with that. Yeah.
Technical difficulties over there on Robert Greenlee's end.
Yep. And like I said, I didn't do a lot of preparation.
Don't let anybody know out loud.
Yeah. So we've got some pretty sensitive barometers in our mobile devices. You can certainly get an old-fashioned analog one.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see if it's going to cooperate with me now. Oops.
It probably won't. You're talking to a flat earther.
Nah. There you go. There you go. So I dropped it on the floor. So the room's kind of stabilizing at 30. I'll give it a second, kind of stabilize. So 30.286.
Okay.
And now I'm going to hold it way up at the ceiling. 30.280, 280, 278. So that's with the air still in the room. So that's what I think. So it's it was about, actually it just jumped again. So it's definitely lower. So let's take the theory about the air. If I turn on the ceiling fan in here, so I'm going to mix up the air in the room real good. So
no, don't be doing no tricks now. Don't be doing no scientific tricks over there.
Yeah. So now I got the fan is cranking behind me, so the air is all mixing up in the room. Let's do it again. Oh, stop it. So if you want, I can take my word for it. I can turn the camera blower off so you can see the fan. But
no, it's all right. Go ahead.
Yep, 3286. Yeah, let's do the same thing. Yeah, so the same thing's happening. It's going out again. So the air is all mixed up in the room.
Yeah.
Yet I still have my pressure gradient that's measurable within the room.
Yeah, it didn't change much there.
No. So it's not a lot because we're 8 feet from the floor to the ceiling, but you can actually measure that pressure gradient even within a room.
Yeah, but it's not much at all.
Oh, you wouldn't expect it to be much. It's only 8 feet.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. You would have to be within hundreds or thousands of feet to really notice something.
You're right, but you're ignoring the point of even within a room where we're purposely mixing up the air, because your premise is that you've got higher concentration of air down here versus this stuff up here. But yet we just showed an experiment where I'm mixing the air up in the room with a high-speed fan so that there is no layers of high hydrogen versus oxygen, but yet I still have a pressure gradient.
Yeah, of course you're going to have a pressure gradient.
Yeah, but it's not because you said earlier, it's because of the different layers of gases. I just mixed up all the gases in the room, so that's not what causes the pressure gradient.
But you're mixing up all the same gases that's in the room. You're not going up 1,000 feet into where there's no oxygen. Like go up where there's no oxygen, where there's no carbon, and then do that experiment.
You're missing the point, but
no, I'm not.
All right. I'm gonna give you a chance. We've been talking for a little over half an hour now. Let's bring up your next point. Let's let you bring up one.
Okay. Let's get off that for a little bit, and let's go on to let's give you a chance and ask. Okay, we look at the Gleason map and we go to Google Maps. Okay, there was a guy that I was asking. We was talking earlier, and he just kind of put that on my mind. So now we're talking about differences in continental sizes on Earth. Okay, so now we got Australia, say for example, and how different Australia looks on Google Maps, which this is supposed to be a photograph from some satellite out there somewhere, and versus the Gleason projection. So, so why does Australia landmass different? Why is it a difference between the Gleason? Why is there a difference between the Gleason projection and the Google Maps projection of Earth?
Well, first of all,
why does Australia look different? So how do you get your dimensions? How do you get your dimensions correct and your calculations are like, well, hey, I want to drive over to this town and it's so many miles away, but I'm going to look up Google Maps and Australia looks like this, but then I go over here to the Gleason map and Australia looks like this, and like there's not any type of consistency in landmass and its circumference.
Yeah.
So
I think, man, I can't believe you segued into this so well, because I actually had kind of prepared to talk about this one. Well, first of all, if we look at Gleason's, I'm going to share my screen again. To this one. You notice in the upper corner, it's longitude and time calculator.
You see that landmass there? That's a pretty large landmass compared to what you're going to find on.
Answer the first question first. It says it's a longitude and time calculator. Why is it not a latitude calculator as well?
Yeah.
Why do they say only longitude and time versus longitude, latitude, and time?
I mean, I don't really know. I guess
because it's because it's a projection.
You're calculating the time of the longitude or the time of the latitude that it takes from point A to point B.
Yeah. So even in Gleason's patent, he said distances going the longitude distances going from the North Pole outwards are accurate, but he even said the longitudinal distances are inaccurate because as soon as you get south of the equator, basically here, and now they start being stretched out because it's a projection.
I've made that point on that projection that it's not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And it isn't 100% accurate. It can't be 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Now, is it a little bit close? Maybe it's a little bit close, but that doesn't make it 100% accurate. You're not gonna follow that map and be like, well, this is the point that I'm starting at. This is the point I'm going to go, and that's where I'm going to be when I get there. That's not how that's going to happen.
So if we're looking at this, Australia is, let's call it 3 to 4 times wider than it is tall. Agree?
Okay.
All right. So let's bring up. I got to go back to find where my silly share went. There it is. I used one of my pilot apps to measure the distances from this is for flight, which I think I probably showed you.
Yeah, see, that's the Australia continent on a Google map.
Absolutely. So what I did is I measured from the northernmost point of Australia to the southernmost point of the main part of Australia. I left out the little island there. And I measured again from east to west. So going to Gleason's again, it's about 3 to 4 times wider than it is tall. But let's look at the actual distances. So this is measuring the actual flight distances between those locations. And I look at the nav log. So going north to south, it's 1,714 nautical miles. Going east to west, it's 2122 nautical miles.
Whoa.
So it's not 3 to 4 times wider than it is tall. This is the actual flight distances. If I got my little airplane and I flew these distances, these are the exact nautical mile distances from north to south, 1,700 nautical miles. East to west is 2,100 nautical miles. So the distances match what we see on the globe and not this extreme of what we see on the flat Earth map.
Oh, so this is a flat Earth map.
You're the one who said, at least when I asked you last time,
I think this is closer to a flat Earth map, but the thing is like the argument is that this is not a flat Earth map and that this is an actual globe projection onto a flat, there's a globe onto a flat projection.
Yeah, but when I asked you probably a week or so ago, it's like, what's the most accurate flat Earth map? You said Gleason's.
Gleason's is most accurate, but the thing though is I didn't say it was 100% accurate because there's no way, there's distances that just doesn't seem to add up on either end.
But the problem is it's not even close. It's off by multitudes.
Right.
I can understand it's like, well, it's off by 20% here, but no, it's off by thousands of miles.
Yeah, really, it's a debate whether which one of these is correct.
Well, I mean, I'm showing you actual flight planning tools that actual pilots use to plot these. If I were to fly this flight on your flat Earth map, but I planned for 2,000 miles, but in reality, because they were flat, it was 6,000 miles. You know what? I'm going to run out of gas. I'm going to crash.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to plan by what the tool tells me, and you got to plan for enough fuel for 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
So if I follow your flat Earth map, I'm running out of gas and I'm crashing.
Oh shit! Well, I mean, maybe so, but also I think there's a few discrepancies here that's unanswered, and right now I haven't flown enough flights to really know. So,
what's the discrepancy that you could point out?
The discrepancy is what we've both pointed out is the two different sizes of the landmass, but it still doesn't make up for how far you're going to distance yourself on a globe versus how far you're going to distance yourself on the flat Earth. It's still neither one of these add up.
Why doesn't the globe one add up? This is the actual flights that you can go do that.
I'll be a little sarcastic and say the reason why the globe doesn't add up is because it's a globe, but. But you can't. I just need to study that a little bit more. I need to get into a little bit more flight plans, and I need to study that a little bit more because it's been brought to my attention from a couple other guys. And I don't follow enough flights. I haven't done enough flights. I haven't been on enough flights, and maybe I do need to do that just to kind of up my game a little bit, but.
Okay. I mean, this is kind of a fictional, if I were to happen to be there and I flew this flight, but let's go look at a actual real world flight. So this is QF-27. They kind of quit flying this during the pandemic, but they recently started back up again. This is the flight from Sydney, Australia to Santiago, Chile. As you can see here, they've been flying it every couple of days. It's not an everyday flight, but it's every couple of days they do this flight. And it's a direct flight from Sydney nonstop to Santiago, Chile.
Okay, but this right here it's basically a straight line from east to west on a globe.
Correct. And I'll show you the visualization in a second here, but it's if we look at it.
I hate these kind of maps. I hate them maps.
Give me just 1 second. That's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'll just show you in real time. I need to bring this back up again here. So,
but they don't actually fly in a straight line.
Actually, they are, and I'll show you a visualization of it in just a second. So give me just a second here. One from. I'm drawing a blank here.
What are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to bring up the flight plan on
what are you drinking on over there? Some fucking rum or what is that?
That's Toonshine. That's my
moonshine.
Toonshine.
There we go.
I need some of that.
It's the same proof as Eric Dubé's 200 proofs.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the flight.
200 proofs in that one glass, huh?
Well, it's the same as Eric Dubé's 200 proofs.
Yeah. So from actually I got it opposite, but anyways, from Sydney to Santiago, Chile on the globe. So you can essentially see it if I follow it along. I'm coming down close to the Antarctica, but it is a straight line on the globe. Oops, go away, Rob.
So how many miles on the globe? So how many miles is it from here to here?
That is 135 nautical miles.
All right. So how many miles in that straight line would you have to see on the right hand side? Where's Australia? How far is your plane from Australia? I mean Antarctica.
Let's look.
You should be able to see it through the plane. I mean, on a plane, right? At 6 miles up.
We'll measure it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Let's say right along the flight path. God darn it, where is it? 700.
And how much of Australia are you actually seeing through that whole flight?
How much of Antarctica?
I mean, Antarctica. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you'd probably only be seeing the coast. And if you look at a few of there's actually videos on YouTube if you want to go research them, for people who've actually filmed it out the window as they've been going by. And it looks like they're just they're not flying directly over it. There might be some variances depending upon the winds and stuff, but for the most part, they're just looking at the coast or maybe a little bit inland of Antarctica. They're not flying over it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no flying over Antarctica, like directly south. There's none of that.
Yeah. Well, it's been done, but in more like, let's do it.
They say it's been done 3 times.
Yeah, a few more than that. But if you think about it, would I take an airliner full of passengers and fly them over the most desolate place on Earth where there's absolutely no place to go if the engine died?
Yeah.
That's a pretty risky flight. And there's really not a huge benefit to it. And I think when I've kind of looked in the past, there's very, very few scenarios where, that really makes sense to fly right over Antarctica. It doesn't make sense.
It really does. It's a direct way to wherever you need to go.
Yeah. So here we have this flight that's 6,100 nautical miles on the globe. If I try to, give me 1 second, if I try to extrapolate that out, let's see how much that distance is on flat Earth. So what I use is the reference from New York to Miami is about 2,000 nautical miles. And I took that line and I replicated it. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think I called it about 0.7. So if I do the rough math,
each one of these lines of longitude is 69 miles, right?
Okay.
No, I found this
on the web.
Goodness, Siri, be quiet.
345 in about, I think I called about 0.7. So if I do the rough math, check it out.
Oh my God. So distance from LA to Miami, 2,000 nautical miles. I've taken about 5.7 of those distances to get from Sydney down to Santiago, Chile on the flat Earth map. So if I extrapolate that out, that's 11,500 miles. Do you think there's any airliner that could fly nonstop 11,000 miles?
Fuck, I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah. So if we look at this particular flight, they're flying a Boeing 787. And if we go out to Boeing and we look up the statistics for the 787, the longest range in this configuration is 7,300 nautical miles. Not even, you're still 4,000 or 5,000 miles short of being able to make that flight nonstop on flat Earth. So how is this flight happening if the Earth is flat? It's impossible. Not to mention they'd be flying over the United States. So instead of people seeing ice out the window, they're going to be, seeing LA and.
So how far is it from?
Texas.
So they're not flying 11,000 miles straight. They're stopping in the U.S.
But they're not doing that in reality. That flight is a non-stop flight.
Okay, so
It's happening 5-6 times a week. Thousands of people flying on that flight. You think they'd be like, "Whoa, what's going on here? I'm not actually flying on this flight, or I'm stopping in the U.S."
And I've also stated that's a problem, but I also don't think that Australia is exactly where it needs to be either. I think it needs to be moved down here a little bit further, and I think it's a little bit further from Asia. So I don't think the distances from here to Asia equal up even on that map.
So it sounds like you're in agreement that this map is basically horked up and not accurate at all.
Well, I think that some of these landmass over here, where
you're pointing at something, but we can't see what you're pointing at.
I know. But it like where America is and where it connects with Argentina and all that, where I just don't think. I think Antarctica is really what's throwing it all off. I mean,
It sounds
Antarctica.
like
I mean,
the Gleason map is just not, in your view, not accurate at all. It's like
well,
totally wrong.
well, I don't, honestly, I don't think there. I don't really think that I haven't really seen an accurate map that I can really accept fully. So,
Yeah.
and until I do, I'm going to be a skeptic about it. And these flight plans right here you're showing me is showing me that right there, like for me to just accept that, yeah, okay, I can say there's some landmass here that seems to maybe add up a little bit, but there's some parts of it that doesn't. And I've even stated that, even in the group, that there's something about this map that just doesn't seem to add up. And yeah, could I fully navigate on this? Not fully, but you can't fully navigate on a globe Earth either. You can literally see that from the Google Earth map, and from that map, the difference between the landmass. So how do you get this map? Because apparently this is a globe projection. So if this is a globe projection in which, obviously it's been said that it's a globe projection by a multitude of people, that Gleason map is actually a globe projection and not a flat Earth projection. So if that's a globe projection, so how does that landmass of Australia add up with your globe projection of Google Earth maps? Like, it doesn't add up.
Here's Google Earth.
Yeah, that's Google Earth.
Yeah,
that's Google Earth.
Yep.
And so there's nothing about that. There's nothing about that map that adds up with the globe projection of the Gleason.
I think it matches perfectly. I don't understand what your confusion is. And if I compare Google Earth,
so how are these flight plans happening as accurate as you're saying they're happening on the Gleason map as they would on a globe map?
Well, we don't use a Gleason map as a plan flight because it's inaccurate.
The Gleason map should project the globe.
Yeah, but
but it's not projecting the globe.
As we mentioned earlier.
So why is the distances not adding up on the Gleason map, but they add up? Let's just assume they're adding up on this Google Earth map. So how?
Because we already explained to you in the beginning of this, Gleason is not, as soon as you go south of the equator, all of these distances, the longitudinal distances, start getting stretched because it's not it's not flat. So that's why it's not a longitude, latitude, and time calculator, because they know that the longitudinal distances are being distorted as soon as you go south of the equator. It's not, even Gleason, if you look at the patent, says there is distortion because the Earth is a globe.
Well, see,
so we know no pilots will ever
right.
use this thing to plan a flight because it's distorted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go down to the store and buy a globe and expect to travel the world using that globe.
No, mainly because the scale is just way too big. I mean, this is not accurate from a scale perspective. I wouldn't take a little globe and
I'm not going to be able to follow the lines of longitude and latitude on a classroom globe and expect to follow those lines of longitude in reality and get to where I need to be. I'm not going to follow those lines of longitude and latitude and travel from America to Australia using just a globe projection. That's not reality.
All right, one more final point, because I think people are probably starting to get bored with this topic, but this is just another projection of the globe. But this Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, you're familiar with those, right? This is basically the highest point the sun goes to north and south of the equator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I look at the distances, if the Earth was a globe, the distances, or the circumference of the Tropic of Cancer and the circumference of Capricorn would be the same. But if the Earth was flat, this is Cancer, this is Capricorn. If the Earth was flat, then Capricorn would be tremendously longer. Because
it is.
Yeah, all right. You saying it is?
Yeah.
All right. So let's look.
Antarctica is almost 50,000 miles in circumference, as to where the Arctic is 13,000 miles in circumference.
All right. So give me just a second here.
Robert, he made the claim. I don't know if you need to support his claim.
Well, I'm gonna prove my claim. So give me just a second. It's been a while since I've
All right,
looked
and
at
then
this.
after this, we're going to take a break. I got some questions from the audience.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've looked at this one. Where'd you go?
Oh no, not the questions from the audience.
Oh, you got some fans. We did a poll. We even did a poll, Andrew.
You need to shoot.
Where did I put that stupid thing? It's been a while. So I think I said I didn't prepare. You know what? We'll come back to that. Go ahead and let's take the break, and then I'll come back and finish up that point.
You want to stop sharing?
Yep.
All right.
Oh.
So I'm going to start with the poll.
Okay.
The poll was: is Andrew a Poe? Now, do you know what a Poe is, Andrew?
I do know what a Poe is.
All right.
I've been called it on numerous accounts, actually.
All right. Well, I voted no, but the
I don't think I am either, McTaylor. I think we're on the same page here a little bit now.
well, anyway, the question is Andrew a Poe? Yes, come in with 58% and no with 41%.
Ooh.
So
that's pretty close. That's a close poll.
Yeah, it's a gap.
I could go either way at this point.
It's a gap of 17% with apparently a 1% margin of error.
I'm good with the 1% margin of error. I'm good with that.
Yeah. All right. Delco says, as someone who keeps jellyfish, I can give my professional opinion that there's 10 times more brain power in my aquarium than in his arguments.
I love them, man. You know, I love these ones.
There we go. Tyler M says, watch the Corridor Crew video about the moon landing. Visual effects artists who explain how hard faking it would be in 1968. Good future debate
let's
material.
Let's not get me started on that camera behind the rock as it does this.
Let's not. I agree. Let's not. Waikika Mookhow says, what happens if we put an egg in a solid liquid gas water? I think that's to you, Andrew.
I think it's going to explode.
Solids. People were wondering about this. How gases are both solid and liquid, and gaseous.
Yes.
How is a gas solid?
How is a gas solid?
Yeah.
Pressure.
Okay. Then what?
What do you mean? Then what?
I mean, a gas is a state of matter, and solid is a state of matter. So, how could it be both?
Oh, that's a good question.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Uh-huh. Well, I look forward to your dissertation on that topic. Siggy Sigwald says, we're all dumber now for listening to this. Thanks, MC Toon. Yeah, you're welcome, Siggy. Snake and me, not you. I'm not blaming you. It's just me, I think. BFEF says, this is like my family arguing at Thanksgiving. Oh. Well, that's good. It could be worse. This definitely was not dumpster fire so far.
Hey, there ain't nobody just storming out of the house.
Yeah. Or naked wrestling arguments in the front yard.
That or my brother begging my girlfriend in the back room.
Is this talking from experience? I hope
No,
not.
no,
Never
no,
mind. All right.
I've been to a few Christmas parties.
Siggy Sigwald says, it always cracks me up when a flirt say it doesn't add up, as if they knew any basic math. How are you at math?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say a 2.
All right. I'm glad you actually answered within the range of 1 to 10. Awesome. Ted Iacocca says, need to study that a little more. Supercut, please. And the Pancake of Destiny. Andrew, I hope you saw the
I
thumbnail. The
Did.
thumbnail?
I did. I liked it. I loved it.
I find the pancake picture in the thumbnail offending. Thank you for that.
Hey, that was my idea.
I know it was. Whenever it was that you and I debated over a year ago, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a year ago actually. Yep.
Yeah.
Millie Terry Pole Iced said, "I would
What
do
kind
naked."
of name is that?
I don't know. I've never seen it before, but this person says I would do naked wrestling just like the Greeks with you on St. Stephen's Day. That's a hard pass. Me.
Ooh. Oh, you.
But that's a hard pass for me. Millie Terry
pass.
Pole Iced.
You can't hard pass that.
That's a hard pass. Mr. United for the Chill Wind said gaseous gas is the gassiest gas. And final one here for
excellence.
Yes, I had Indian food for lunch, so I've had
good.
I've had some solid gas. And then NA final one here says honest question, are Andrew's parents related? Andrew, that's to you.
I think that's been asked to me a couple times, and yes, they are definitely.
All right, that's it for now. I will turn it back to you two to take it up. I'm gonna run to while you're talking. I'm gonna pop over to the bathroom. So go ahead and you're sharing screen again. Okay.
Yeah, I found what I was looking for.
Here we go.
Again, using my favorite ForeFlight, I actually measured. So notice that the left one is 23.4 degrees north, and basically made a circle all the way around the Earth. And then the bottom one is Capricorn, but now it's 23.4 degrees south. But we look at the distances, about 19,833 nautical miles, and it's the same for Capricorn. So if I had an airplane that could fly 20,000 miles, I could plot out this flight and fly all the way around it. And they are the same distances, which would match the globe and not flat Earth.
Yeah, but it still couldn't be the same even on the globe.
It'd be pretty darn close.
But you're saying it's the same.
Yeah, well, it's showing it the same. What difference would you see? We know that the globe is, as Neil would say, slightly fat in the middle by a fraction of a percent.
Well, maybe it could be if it was a globe, and according to what he says, yes, but it still wouldn't. You still wouldn't be able to have the same. You still couldn't have the same calculations from the Capricorn to Cancer, even on a globe. There's no way.
The problem with these calculations is showing it at altitude, so it's not making a difference. It's not factoring in terrain underneath it. It's just factoring the at altitude. So they actually would be the same. But the point is, what you're avoiding is that if it was flat, Tropic of Capricorn would be thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of miles longer than Cancer.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's not.
100%.
Yeah. So
definitely.
It's something else that for you to think about.
Just like Antarctica is 13,000 miles in circumference, and let's just assume we don't even have to go with Bird's measurement of Antarctica. Let's just say 30,000 miles. Even at 13,000 miles compared to 24,900 miles at the equator and 30,000 miles in the south, that's still not a ball.
Is that your number, or the circumference of Antarctica? Is that
well the circumference
including all the little
Antarctica
nooks and crannies and
as what's been recorded is 50,000 miles in circumference. Now, the circumference of the Arctic is 13,000 miles. Now, we have an equator in between the 13,000 miles and the 50,000 mile circumference, which is 29,000, which gives us the equator. And even on that, I can show you pictures. I mean, I can draw up a pair real quick. And I can
let us see where you're getting those numbers from. Because we look at, like, I'm just Googling it.
Okay, let's just go. Let's go
Arctic. Hang on, let me finish real fast. The Arctic Circle itself, which is circling Antarctica, is little less than 10,000. So I understand where you were getting these numbers from.
Well, okay, that's even worse. Let's just go with 10,000 then. Let's go with 10. The Antarctic is not 9,900 miles in circumference.
And that means, what's your citation?
The citation is the fact that you can look up information. You could go to school and learn that you could even Google Earth this and do the circumference of Google Earth, and you'll find at least 30,000 miles in circumference.
I'll stop sharing. Can you show us? Can you share out and show us?
Let me see. I have Google Earth. I don't really know how to do this on my phone. So if I back out of here, what does that do?
Are you on you're doing this presentation from your phone?
Well, heck yeah, that's all I got, bro.
You don't have a computer?
No. No, I do not.
Let's try. I'm gonna see if I could do this. Let's see here. Let's see if we
You
can
draw it up. You draw it up. You go to Google Earth. You draw a line around Google Earth, and you're not going to find 9,000 miles in circumference. There's just no way.
Let's see.
But you will find, and even if that's 3,000 miles difference. Even if you just had it that way, let's just say it was 3,000 miles difference from the Arctic, which it can't be, because one of the reasons why is it's negative 200 degrees in the south, which means there's more ice, there's more cold. This means there's going to be a larger landmass of cold than there would be in the north. So there has to be there has to be more miles in circumference in the south than in the north. There has to be, regardless of any type of Earth. So,
is the North Pole a continent?
The North Pole?
Yeah, what's at the North Pole?
Well, there's a magnetic north. So when I put my compass down here on the table, that compass is going to read to that magnetic north, which is going to read, apparently it's to an ocean in the northern part of the world. All right, now there's a landmass right there on that ocean somewhere that's just a little bit off in degrees, which is fine, no big deal. Okay, so, and that's your ice, that's your land. All right.
Is the geographic North Pole, is that a continent like Antarctica, or is it, what's there?
You're going to have your geographic, geographic, you're going to have landmass, whether it be ice, dirt, whatever the heck it is. It's some kind of landmass. All right. That landmass has a circumference. All right. That circumference, when the sun 93 million miles away hits its light rays onto Earth, it's going to create this circle of ice. All right, you're going to have this circle of ice at the top of the Earth, and then you're going to have a circle of ice at the bottom of the Earth, because the sun doesn't directly hit the North and the South poles. So when you have a globe model, you see that?
So I'm getting just roughly 8,500 nautical miles circling around Antarctica. But going back, I think I closed it. I think it was 19,000. That 19, if I kind of scroll up here, that 19,000 miles was basically doing all the way around this, a much bigger circle than Antarctica itself.
All right, so that's 20,000 miles, which is completely opposite of what you said.
No, so it's gotten smaller. So here I have a circle around Antarctica at the bottom of the globe.
So it went 10,000 miles less than what I said, and it went 10,000 miles more than what you said.
What did the website say? Let me bring it over. The website estimated the Antarctic Circle 9,900 miles. I estimated 8,500 nautical miles. Of course, there's a difference between statute miles and nautical miles, but pretty darn close. So this is what they said. This is what I measured. As you go up, if I did a larger circle, say, I wish I had I take my pen here. Oops, oh, Siri, go away. If I took my pen here, if I drew a circle like this, which is what that Tropic of Cancer is, sorry, Tropic of Capricorn, this could be a lot bigger, right?
Yeah.
So that Tropic of Capricorn was, say, 20,000 nautical miles. The Arctic Circle I drew around Antarctica is only 8,500 nautical miles. Matches the globe perfectly. There's no discrepancy there.
Well, I think the real question here is, the sun at equinox.
We're not talking about the sun. We're just talking about distances here. We can talk about the sun later. Let's stay on topic.
Well, I'm talking about the ice here, but in order to get here, I need to understand this. Okay, so during an equinox, we have an equal measure of day and night. Okay, and how to get that equal measure of day and night from north to south, the sun has to be directly at 90 degrees over the equator. All right, you got your north here, you got your south here, and then you got your sun 93 million miles out here casting photons to the center of Earth. Okay, so, but whoa. We got a 23.5 degree angle. All right, so now the sun has got to do this. It's got to do, you got a 23 degree angle. Well, the sun is here, and all of a sudden now the sun has to do this to cast its photons directly to the equator. Okay, so now either the sun is moving, which everything in space is supposed to be moving relative, or the Earth is tilting 23 degrees south or north, however you want to look at it, where the sun would be equal with the equator. See, like I've seen models of this, right? So you got your 23.5 degree angle, and you got it's going all the way around the sun here. All right. And that's not even mentioning traveling through the universe at 666,000 miles an hour. That's just saying that the sun or the Earth does this around basically a stationary sun, basically what that image is saying. But actually, the sun is supposedly moving 666,000 miles away, and it should be in front of all the planets. Should be out there directly in front of all the planets, dragging everything with it, because everything is moving relative and everything has its set distance. And so now we got a 23 degree angle at 93 million miles away, and the sun should be beating down to the North Pole at all times. But let's get off that for a second. So let's just say that the Earth is at a 23.5 degree tilt, and the sun is directly in the center, and everything's revolving around that. Everything's falling or whatever the heck it's doing there in space. All right, so you got the 23 degree angle revolve, right? You got your solstice, and you got your equinox, or you got your equinox and you got your solstice. Okay, so during your equinox, which would be like this, and the sun would be here, all the Earth has done is move 3 months into the future, and the sun is here. So now your sun is casting its photons here directly in the center of Earth. Well, the Earth rotates like this. The sun is never going to rise directly east, even on that. Can't, because you're way down here when it rises, and you're way over here when it sets. So as the sun is beating its light into let's just say this one little spot, okay? One little spot on Earth. At this angle, the sun is beating right here. You're calling this an equinox. You're calling it a time 2 times a year that this occurs. 2 times. Now,
Hang on, real quick. Hang on.
Earth should be at equinox 24/7, 365 days a year.
All right, here's the Earth. Where is the sun in relation to the Earth?
Okay, so right there, the sun would be on this side of it. So that continent right there.
Is the sun up here?
No, it would be put it in front of it. No,
Yeah,
in front.
so here?
No. Go in front of the globe.
Here?
No, on the other side. In front
Here?
of in between. It would be right there during equinox.
So I mean,
now that's just one equinox. Now that's just September.
Here.
That's
This is the
September.
equinox.
Well, I mean, what do you really see during equinox? Like, okay, so like if you go to the ISS and you film the equinox, what are you filming? Is there anything you're filming? Is there anything out of the okay, so the ISS rotates east and west on an east and west path that the Earth also rotates. So what are you filming? Are you not seeing a shift with the sun? Does it not shift from, I mean, do you not see any kind of shift? I mean, it only takes literally an hour and a half for the ISS to orbit Earth.
Yeah.
So
the ISS,
you're capturing quite a bit.
Hang on. The ISS isn't doing this. It's not staying at the same, like flying over the equator. The ISS is actually doing this.
So over the north and south? The ISS does not go.
No, it's an angle. It's kind of hard to see here. But it's basically they're basically going like this. So it's at an angle at the same time.
That's still going.
That the Earth is rotating underneath it.
That's not what the ISS does. That's not what you can go into any video and you look, and you can always see that there's going to be this right there at the very bottom of the image of the globe or whatever it is, whatever they have. You're going to have a large cloud, which they call Antarctica, and then the top northern part of the ball, you're going to see less of a cloud, which they call the Arctic. All right, so the ISS, you can literally look this up. The ISS travels east. It goes east. It moves east with the equator.
But it doesn't though. I'm going to bring this up real quick here. I'll share our screen again. This is the live ISS tracker. It is going in this, again, I forget the mic line, that's the term that they used for, oops, I got to finish sharing here. Oops, my bad.
Because you can literally watch these ISS videos and the Earth is rotating with the ISS. The ISS is going this way and then the Earth is rotating this way.
Yeah.
So you have to be traveling east for this, for you to be able to see this.
Yeah. Does this look like it's going along the equator?
No.
No, because it doesn't. Like I said, it is going. Its apogee is, and it's a certain part it goes up, and a certain part it goes down. But it's basically orbiting like this as the Earth is already connected. So that's why it's on each orbit. The yellow line is basically the previous orbit. That's an hour and a half behind. The line it's currently on is its current orbit. So as it's orbiting and the Earth is rotating underneath it.
So how do you see sunrises?
Every hour and a half, they're now coming from the dark side of the Earth. Like right now, they're in the sun, and it looks like in about 15 minutes they'll go to the dark side of the Earth. 45 minutes later, they're going to have the sunrise as they reach over to this area over here. But they're doing this. They're not going just straight around the equator. They're looping kind of like at this type of angle, and the reason they do that, if you kind of look at it, they have two things that they have to do. One, remember, all the components were launched from Cape Canaveral. So this flight path will always bring them over top of the Cape Canaveral area. And it's also bringing them by Baikonur Cosmodrome in Russia. So they pick the orbit so that when they launch the rocket's not having to fly way out of its way to meet up with them. For that same reason is why there's only certain times of the day, of the month, that they can actually launch to the ISS, because they have to wait for that exact time when the space station is flying over the launch site, so the rocket goes straight up to the station.
Of course.
If we had unlimited fuel, they would just say, screw it.
I can understand why you would have to do that on a globe projection, but it's...
But do you understand the orbital mechanics of what we're talking about here? They can't just, launch a rocket from the tip of South America and fly up to the space station, because the space station is not going anywhere near there. They have to launch the rocket as the path of the station is going over top of the launch site.
Yeah.
For the
So
most
if the ISS has passed them, they'd have to wait and I don't know, approximately about an hour before they ever even launch.
Actually, sometimes they have to wait a week because they have to. Because if you if you can look at the spacing between each one of these orbits, it could be another week before it lines up perfectly so they can launch straight up to it. It's almost like if you were, ever watch speed skating and like the relays?
Yeah.
Where they have the person in the middle and then their partner comes flying by and they basically kind of match them and then grab the baton and they keep on going.
Yeah,
that's essentially what they're doing. They wouldn't take off from the other side of the rink and try to catch them. They're going right up. They wait till they get close and they come along parallel with them and then they pass the baton, they keep on going. Yeah, it's a similar type of thing.
Yeah.
Can I, people, just for, people are wondering how, this started with talking about the circumference of Antarctica. And so is this getting back around to that eventually here?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. I mean, I would like to move on to something else, more like the center of the Earth and the iron core and the 770.
Well, let's just finish this one off then. I mean, do you acknowledge, at least using this real world tool that pilots all over the world use, this is showing that it appears to be.
Man, I think there's something fishy going on here, and I'm not quite sure.
You can't just say fishy. Does it appear to be a globe or not?
Yeah, I mean, fishtails, they have a strong hold on the
question, Andrew. Does it appear or not?
It kind of appears, but I can't accept that. I mean, not 100%.
All right, I don't care if you accept it. I just want to know if you.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense because I do know recordings that the Antarctica have been 50,000 miles, and not just by one person, by a multitude of people. That Antarctica has been recorded at 50,000 miles in circumference.
Yeah, well, I tell you what,
and I'm not just going to take the word on somebody else that says, hey, because I mean that projection could be inaccurate also. So I'm not just going to take the word on somebody, and I agree. Like maybe I shouldn't just take the word on the 50,000 mile circumference, but it makes more sense when it's coming from a time before like all this. So when people are maybe a little bit more honest about things, maybe not really meaning to be honest about things, but they saying things, and these circumferences, they have to match up, and you can even look through the Britannica, and you can find these types of things. And the 1890s Britannica, they'll give you estimates, they'll show you things, they'll show you the firmament, they'll show you the miles it takes to get there. Now,
all right, okay, let's move on because it's probably boring the audience here. No. If you want to talk about, the iron core of the Earth and all this stuff, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a geologist. I'm going to say, I don't know.
Well, you know what,
Andrew, if you're not going to bring some evidence instead of just asking questions, because it's not. Well, I mean, this wasn't like, hey, I have questions and will you explain them to me? Because that's a tutoring session.
It's a debate, isn't it?
Yeah, so then you'd have in a debate. It's like here's my presentation and here's people. Hold on. Here's my claim and here's the evidence supporting my claim. That's the kind of the foundation of how. So anyway, go ahead.
I understand that, and there's plenty of evidence that supports my claims, just like there's plenty of evidence that supports your claims. I mean, we could go back and forth with this all day and night, but at the end of the day, we both have evidence.
Yeah, just go. So, yeah, go ahead.
And I have plenty of evidence, and right here, like even with the iron core, we can talk about the magnetism that's lost at 770 degrees, and we all know that the iron core is over 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yep. So how do you have a magnetic pole from north and south, which the south isn't magnetic at all? You can't get no magnetism down in the south. Why is that? Yeah. Because it's not magnetic. You can only have a magnetic. You're only getting a magnetic draw from the North Pole. That's it. And I don't even know how that's possible on a ball if the iron core is 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit and magnetism is lost at 770 degrees.
All right. So get this, Ed. Not my area. Do you have any, Andrew?
Yeah.
Do you have any actual positive flat Earth evidence that? Now, you're not trying to disprove the globe. I want you to something that actually.
Yeah, no, that's exactly my point. These questions that I raise are questions that disprove a globe. If
No,
they
but that's not
cannot
the
be
point.
answered, and you say, "Well, that's
Andrew,
fine, and I can't answer them," that's
Andrew,
fine.
that's just you not understanding things. That's all it was.
Yeah, I'm asking you for
what's your guys' understanding of it?
yeah, Andrew. I'm asking for something that actually proves flat Earth, not disproves the globe. Do you have anything?
Well, that's what science is. It's the disproof of
No,
reality.
it's not the
Even
you're
McToon will
ignoring the
verify
point.
this.
Do you have anything that positively proves flat Earth?
Yes.
What?
I've given plenty of things. The Gleason map disproves globe Earth.
Yeah, but you've already admitted that Gleason is
The
denied.
projection of the Google Earth that I just showed you with the landmass disproves globe Earth.
You are no.
Doesn't
you
add
can't.
up. The measurements don't
You
add
just went right back to your old mantra. I don't want you to disprove the globe. I want you to prove flat Earth. You already admitted that Gleason's crap is inaccurate.
Disproving is the process of proving something.
Nope.
So when
You
I'm
have
disproving,
It should be super easy to prove flat Earth, but you can't do it.
facts that have been out there that have given us the information of our reality. When I'm sitting here asking questions that cannot be answered,
They can easily be answered, but rejecting the answer doesn't actually disprove the answer. So,
But Andrew, again, stop trying to disprove the globe. Just provide us something that proves flat Earth. Positive proof of flat Earth. That's it.
well, that's my business is to disprove.
Yeah, but you don't.
That's
you
what
fail at
science
that every
is.
day.
That's what science is. Science isn't there to prove things.
Maybe if you
It's there to
switched your
disprove.
mantra, Andrew, maybe if you switched your mantra and actually try to prove flat Earth versus disproving the globe, you might realize that, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Because you can't prove flat Earth. It's impossible.
I can't prove a globe Earth either.
Yeah, but when do you stop what you're doing and say, let me try to prove flat Earth and see if I can prove it first?
Well, how do I prove a globe Earth?
I don't, that's
he
not your
just
job.
he just doesn't want to talk about flat Earth.
No, it's like you refuse to absolutely.
How do you make a flat earther stop talking?
I go,
Ask him
I go
about flat Earth.
proving flat Earth to disproving flat Earth. How do I prove a globe? Okay, so when somebody comes up to me and I'm a globe earther, how do I tell that person? How do I instill in that mind Earth is a globe and prove it tangibly to him just by words?
I've spent the past hour and a half showing you positive globe Earth proofs, and all you can say is,
It's really not though.
It absolutely is. Distances don't lie.
If you want to sit there and disagree with me, then I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to ask you for the 5th time. Do you have anything that positively proves flat Earth?
Do you have anything that positively proves a globe Earth?
I already did. Have you done any of your own?
See, I feel the same way. I feel like the information that I brought, the proof that I brought proves flat Earth. The information, the questions that I asked that the globe Earth can't answer disproves a globe.
Have you done any of your own experiments? Any?
I do experiments all the time.
So give me an example of an experiment you did that proved or disproved flat Earth.
I took a picture of the moon that's really close by.
Okay, so what did that show you?
It showed me that the moon was really close by.
How do you know that?
Because the picture showed me.
No, how do you know that?
Because the picture showed me. So
no, I could take a picture of the moon, but that doesn't tell me how far away it is.
Right, but you can't take a picture of the Earth, right?
No, I'm on the Earth. I'm not on the moon.
Right, so you can't take a picture of it.
So when you took a picture,
so how do you prove it? So how do you prove the Earth is there if you can't take a picture of it?
When you took a picture of the moon, how does that prove the distance to the moon?
Just the same way anyone takes a picture of the Earth and proves the distance from Earth to the moon.
You're the same thing. You said you took a picture of the moon, which proves it's close. How?
No. The picture said it read distances. It told me 5,000 feet.
So your camera had a radar rangefinder on it or something?
Well, it wasn't a camera. It was a telescope.
So your telescope had a radar rangefinder on it?
Yeah, you didn't get a telescope that had one?
I'd like to get one. Where'd you get it?
Well, it's about $5,000, but you can get one any day on eBay.
Really? Can you show me?
Oh, what's the model so we can get it?
Yeah, what the model of that is. Never heard of a telescope with a radar rangefinder.
It's a P1000.
That's not a telescope. That's a camera.
Well,
it has no rangefinder on it.
They work pretty damn good.
But there's no rangefinder on it. So you said you had a telescope with a rangefinder. Could you just give us the model of the rangefinder telescope?
I really don't. I'm just being sarcastic.
Okay.
Exactly. So you get to take a picture and say, "Oh, it looks close."
I mean,
Right.
people are getting the
Exactly.
Poe. People are totally getting the Poe vibe from that. Do you mind? Do you mind if
Well, I mean,
I?
kind of being a Poe during that a little bit, I guess. But I mean,
Yeah.
not really.
Do you mind if we do some questions? Since
Sure.
then
why
you
not?
can like think about maybe what you want to bring forward. So Lael says that
Oh, the Selene Lion Solstice. That's a great one.
Selene Lion Solstice. It's a great topic. Selene Lion. All right.
Is that how you
Celine
pronounce
Dion?
that?
Yes.
Is that not how you pronounce it? How's that pronounced?
Nope, that's not right. Lael says
Dylan?
flurfs reject measurements, so your question is unfair about its math skills.
Is it Selene? How you pronounce that?
Celine
What's
Dion.
that solstice called?
It's the Celine
Celine
Dion solstice.
Hey, that makes a good song right there.
No, it's she. Until she does heavy metal, I'm not interested. Ted Iacocca says, "Do the huge spoons remind you you're in a kitchen?" Over your shoulder there, right over your shoulder there.
Something about poop in the kitchen, man. I don't know.
No, it's spoon.
The spoon, yeah.
Oh,
On the wall behind you.
yeah, that's my spoon.
Just have a
Let's
peek.
eat.
All right.
How long does it take you to eat your cereal with that spoon?
It don't take long at all.
I'll put the whole bowl of cereal on that
But
spoon.
be ready for a mouthful.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna do a poll for your favorite cereal. I just need 3 because I got. Wait, hold on a second. Where'd you go?
I'm back.
Oh, now you're on the other side. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to fix it all. I know, Andrew. Turn off your camera, then come back in so it reorders them again.
No, I like being on the right side.
No, oh my gosh, I have to fix everything. Oh my gosh. All right. Grand Price.
Hey, Andrew, now we know how to torture Mike, so.
Grand Price says, say my Facebook mantra to him. We have rockets, we've checked, not flat. Let's see him deny 7 decades of space exploration happened or pretend it's fake. 600 people been there themselves.
600 people's been where? Space?
Space, yeah.
Ooh, like 62 miles up?
Yeah.
A lot further than that.
Yeah, I mean, people have been higher than that.
350 miles to the ISS.
250.
Huh?
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, roughly. Who knows, really, right?
You can measure it yourself.
Like,
With a
one of
P900,
my-
in fact, you could.
With a P900 camera?
You could, yeah. Red's Rhetoric measured the elevation of the ISS
About the size of a football field.
using the elevation is not the size of a football field. The elevation is much more than the size of a football field.
No, the size of the ISS.
Yeah, but we
Yes,
were talking
about
about the elevation, the height, not the size.
Oh, I thought we was talking about recording the ISS.
you got
with my
confused.
P900.
Yeah, he measured the height of it using parallax and 2 observers at different locations. And one of the people Reds had a P900 or P1000. Shovelhead Steve says that this is the only way flat earthers get norms to talk to them. Do you talk to normal people ever?
All the time.
What about the people you live with?
All the time. I
All
talk
right.
to people all the time.
Chronic Avenger says the Antarctic coastline is 11,165 miles.
Oh, now it's 11,000.
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
coast.
Somebody would. Is
You-
there
you-
is there
you missed
some
the-
facts on the internet that are
You missed the
correct?
word. You missed the word. Coastline.
Oh,
Coastline. Because when
Well,
it has a
I wouldn't
peninsula,
I wouldn't even say
coastline
the coastline
follows
would
the
be,
peninsula, right?
I would even think the coastline would be even more than 11,000, especially if he's
Yeah.
already measuring that.
Yeah, for
8,000.
flat Earth, it has
Just-
to be
just to
more than 60,000 miles, right?
No, not more than 60,000 miles. At least 50,000 miles.
Yeah, but it's
At
not.
least.
But it's not. Yeah, it's less than, a lot less than that. All right. Lael says, Andrew, which number is larger, 15,000 or 40,000? Euclid circle, or the Antarctic circle, is 15,000 miles. Have you provided
No.
evidence that the
No,
flat
I
Earth
never claimed
version of the
15,000
circumference of
miles.
the Antarctic Circle is wrong?
I've stated, like numerous of people stated, that the Antarctica is 50,000 miles, not 15.
Okay.
And I've claimed that the Arctic is 13,000 miles in circumference.
Okay, so now you did not though have any citations for that. I think that's maybe
Yeah.
what he's getting at.
Yeah, Colonel Richard E. Byrd. I mean, Admiral Richard E. Lee Byrd.
What? Hold on a second. You got Colonel
No, the-
Richard E. Byrd and then Admiral
I can
Richard E. Lee Byrd.
Hey,
The
McToon,
colonel
you
now,
know
the man changes
I
service.
can never get this guy's name right. I think the first time I called him, it was Admiral or Sir Richard E.
Yeah.
Maybe you're thinking Cook, not Byrd.
No, well, Cook was another one that measured.
Yeah,
50,000
Byrd.
miles.
There's no citation I've ever seen of Byrd doing a
Well, I mean,
circumnavigation.
he also had a citation that there was land beyond the
Beyond
South
what?
Pole.
Beyond the pole, exactly. There is pole. Yeah, I mean, here's what you do. Here's the pole right there. Imagine this is the pole, right there.
Yeah.
And so you start here and you go that
Yeah.
way, and then you get to the pole and you're like, oh look, there's land on the other side of the pole. That's what he
not
meant.
what he-
So
I don't think that's what he meant.
that's what he said. So all right,
He said there's land beyond the pole, at the South Pole.
yeah. So you go there, get to the pole, land beyond.
And
That's
then
what he said.
See what you're doing right there? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about the globe. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, it makes
But that
perfect sense
doesn't-
on a globe. So
So,
all right, hold on. I got a
Andrew-
couple more. More.
Okay.
I've got Itty Tiger Sci-Fi Review says latitude and longitude is a spherical coordinate system. If the Earth were flat, latitude and longitude would never have been created. Cartographers would have just laid out a grid with the North Pole and be done. They would have just.
Longitude and latitude are the grid. So
But they're not. It's a spherical coordinate system.
it's really not. I mean,
I mean,
it's
you
a circular coordinate system, but it's not a spherical.
If you really, really wanted to stretch it, you could say it was a polar coordinate system, not a circular. A polar coordinate system.
Yeah,
But I don't-
go with that.
I think your level 2 of math probably means that you didn't cover that. That was for me. That was algebra in 11th grade. We covered polar coordinate systems and the transformations
And
between them.
And somewhere between 11th grade and now, you forgot to look at reality because you're over here preaching globe Earth.
Yeah. Well, so you say.
So
All right, hold on. I get a couple more. Chronic Avenger says he's a shill paid by Nikon to sell the P1000. David says on the day of the Celine Dion solstice, the sunset just goes on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Grand
You
Price.
can be at the,
Grand
you can be
Price
at the
thanks.
Tropic of Cancer and still be an equinox.
That's over the equator. So Grand Prices thanks MC2, and I predicted the response. And the final one says, Chronic Avenger, the world record circumnavigation for sailing is less than 45 days using the South Sea route. There you go. Okay. Let me, seriously, Andrew, could you turn off your camera and then turn it back on, please?
Let's see here.
Please. It's, oh yeah,
That work?
you're on mobile. I don't know how to, don't hang up.
Hey, I almost pressed the red button.
No. Stay away from the red button.
yeah, there should be like a camera type icon. Just push it to stop the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
There you
there
go.
we go.
Good?
Yeah, now turn it back on again.
Yeah, back on.
That work?
Yes, you did it. All right, good. All right, I'll let you two. We got about
All right.
20 minutes left, and then
Hey. Actually, you know
Andrew.
what? Actually, what is it? We'll do one more.
Okay.
Let's not do the full 20 minutes, but let's do one more. And I gotta make a quick bathroom run, and I want.
Yeah, I think 20 minutes is good too. I gotta go eat dinner, but look what I have here, Andrew.
Yeah.
My own P900.
Yes.
So, are you one of the flat earthers that always claim that if you see a ship hidden by the horizon, you just zoom in on it?
Well, yeah, you could definitely zoom in. Well, let's go with let's go to the eye doctor real quick, and I'm gonna get me an eye exam, and the eye doctor is gonna tell me, well, your eyes are fucked. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So now what the eye doctor is going to do for me is he's going to set me a prescription. All right. And that prescription is going to be negative 4.5 in one eye, negative 5.25 in the other eye. And he tells me, he's like, this is what you're going to need to be able to see like everyone else. Okay. So now I take that and it comes in, the prescription comes in a form of lenses. So those form of lenses I set over my eyes. Right. So I set these form of lenses over my eyes and well, I couldn't see before. Everything was blurry. Well, now I can see clear. Well, I still can't see as far as I need to. Also, now my horizon has changed. So I go from a 5-foot horizon, which isn't very far. Now I go to a 2-mile horizon. So lenses change the horizon. And now you can only go so far on a globe. Now, let's say that I want to see past 3 miles. All right. So what do I need to do to see past 3 miles? I can get a set of binoculars. Now I put that set of binoculars on. Now I go from 3 miles to 5, 6 miles, maybe tops. Well, that ain't quite good enough. I want to see further than that. Well, I need a good camera. Let's get a P900. Yeah, that's pretty good. I've heard some distances. Now I'm seeing 30, 40 miles out. 30, 40 miles out on a ball. I mean, how many horizon lines can you see past before you start to see a curve?
All right, so let's just take a look. So can Zoom, the P900, bring its ship back from behind the horizon? Yes or no? All right, so let's take a look.
It definitely
So,
does. Yes, for sure.
Hang on. So this video was taken, I was on vacation in Jamaica. The whole resort is actually on a hill. So I was up in my room up the hill. I saw the ship out there. It ran downstairs to the beach. So this is me zooming in on this very, very large cargo ship. I actually went the full P900 zoom. You know, as I'm zooming in, no more of the ship is coming into view. So you see that?
Yeah, I do see that.
All right. So what I did next
but there's also no mirage here.
No, there's not. It actually was a pretty clear day.
Even on a clear day, you're still going to have a mirage.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to observe this ship from multiple different heights as I went back up. Hang on.
I almost think this picture's doctored here a little bit.
It's a video. How's it doctored?
You can't doctor videos.
I'm not that good. This is the raw. I could even provide you the raw video from the camera that still has all the information on it, but this is the raw video.
All right.
All right. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. Hang on. So what I did is after I zoomed in on here, I came back, zoomed back out, and I went back up the hill and I climbed up a flight of stairs. So now I'm about 15, 20 feet higher than I was before. What do you think is going to happen?
You'll see more of the ship.
All right. So let's jump ahead here. All right. So you're right. I'm saying more of the ship. It's at the same distance.
Yeah.
There's no difference in distance. But now I'm seeing more of the ship.
Well, there is a difference in distance. The ship is still further away. You're not. Okay. Well, you're still not being.
I'll be more accurate. I'm now about 30 feet further away from my original observation point. 30 feet.
Yeah.
So it's essentially the same.
I mean,
that's not good enough for you. Hang on. Let's go up one more flight of stairs. So now I'm the exact same distance. I'm just going up another flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So no difference in distance. Only difference is I went up one more flight of stairs.
Right.
Now I'm seeing even more of the ship.
Right. Yeah.
So explain how that works on flat Earth. If it's flat, explain how I'm seeing more of the ship as I go higher up in elevation.
That makes perfect sense. Like I could set a camera down on the ground and I could walk away from that camera. The further I walk away from the camera, the more my feet disappear. Now I go to raise that camera up, has nothing to do with the curvature of the Earth, especially within 30 feet. Now I go to raise that camera up, the more it's going to show my feet.
Can you show us that?
it's a live demonstrable evidence that anyone can do that. Anyone can
Yes,
do
but
that.
can you show us?
Anyone in their right mind can do that.
You have a camera on your phone. I understand you don't have a computer, but you have one on your phone. In fact, I did something. I did something similar.
I don't have the space to do it right here, and outside is dark, and I'd have to do it on a day where I get a good clear image.
All right, I did this. I did this.
Do it and show anybody.
Yeah, I did this a couple years ago.
Hard to do.
Hang on.
But it has nothing to do with curvature.
Andrew, I did that a couple of years ago. I was actually getting my kitchen reconstructed, so I had the whole length of the kitchen. So what I'm looking at is that 2x4 down the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to put it as low down to the ground as I can possibly get. That 2x4 is going to disappear? Nope.
No, your camera's not ground level either.
It was.
You're about 3 your camera's about 3 inches off the ground.
Nope.
So that's like 30. That's like, let's say that's 2 flights of stairs.
Negative. This is the lens. I'm gonna kind of put it up here. Come on, focus better. There we go. This is the lens. Literally, it was that far off the ground.
That's
the videos that you're wanting to basically talk about, where they actually take the camera down below
the 2x4 and move it further away. Take the 2x4 and move it further away. So
why don't you take it as a takeaway? Why don't you do this exact experiment on the flattest floor that you can find, and come back into the Facebook group and show us your experiment? Because I've done it. I've shown you multiple observations I've actually done. Why don't you do some of your own experiments and then come back to the group and say, I actually went out and I tried this. This is my result. Because we've never seen that from you, where you've actually gone out and done an experiment of your own and come back and say,
I've done a couple of drawings, but I haven't really showed you the experiments that I know.
But I want you to go beyond that. I want you to actually
experiment that I can do. It's no problem.
I want you to start doing your own experiments. Quit looking at other YouTube videos of people like Dubé and
you think that I watch other people's YouTube videos on flat Earth, but that's not correct.
I hope you don't.
Well, I mean, you by the questions that I've raised in the group, that I don't.
Yeah.
Now there's some things that I might agree with flat earthers on. Yeah, of course. But there's also a major portion of my studies that I have and the questions that I raise that not everybody asks. Yeah. Not even some of them. Yeah. It's not even some of your highest flat earthers out there ask the questions that I do.
Yeah. So the one more question for you. We're getting low on time here. Have you ever actually gone to Florida and watched a rocket launch yourself?
No.
Yeah. So I recommend, I'm not sure what part of the country you live in. I know you're in Central Time Zone, but take a trip out sometime. Go watch a rocket launch. Go watch it with your own eyes. Feel the power of the engine pounding your chest from the noise of it. Go out there and do it yourself. No, I tell you, it's amazing. I lived in Florida during the shuttle age.
No,
the closest you could ever get to the shuttle as a civilian was the NASA Causeway, which is 6 miles away. And literally you would feel it beating your chest from the power of those engines from 6 miles away. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to ask you one more thing and just see what you think about it. Okay. Do you know what's happening tonight, hopefully?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so this is the SLS rocket. And right now they're kind of zoomed in on it. This is the engineering cameras.
I haven't heard anything about this. So
what rock you been living underneath? It's in all the news and the media.
I don't know. Right now. I guess I've just been blinding myself from this. But
I'm live streaming it tonight. Join me.
So if you really want to stay up late, it's unfortunately for all of us in North America, it's launching at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Which is
I miss that for sure.
Yeah. But they're fueling the rocket right now. They're hopefully nothing's going to go wrong because it's the third time they're trying to launch the damn thing, being an experimental rocket. But this thing it's the biggest rocket in the world right now.
Oh, really?
I can't imagine experience if you're actually in Florida watching this thing take off. Yeah. But you know what? Go down there sometime. Take your family and kids down to Kennedy Space Center when there's a launch going on. It's one thing cool about SpaceX is they're going to be launching a rocket every single week. But go down there and watch one in person. It's to tell you, it's going to change your perspective. Whether or not this thing goes off tonight or they have issues with it or it blows up, I don't know. But you know what? If you were there, you'd be like, damn.
Well, yeah, I mean, flat or round, rocket launchers are cool. Like I like stuff like this. Like this is what I do.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying you gotta, I don't know. I mean, have you ever left your state? I mean, how much traveling have you done?
Yes, I've left my state. I've been quite a few different places, but I've never really been outside of the United States.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be amazed. I mean, I'm a military veteran. I've been to Asia, I've been to the Middle East, kind of traveled all over the world. We've also taken a lot of vacations. You know, you gotta, I know it's expensive, but you gotta get out and go see more of the world.
It is. But
it just seems like you're so sheltered, you're not really seeing what's really going on in the world and all the cool things that you're missing.
well, I mean, as far as what's outside the United States, I'm a little bit sheltered on it. But I mean, that's nothing.
You know, there's a big, huge world out there. There's so
Oh,
many
yeah,
cool
for
things.
sure.
I know us Americans tend to be a little conceited about our country, but man, you get out there, it's a really cool world out there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of amazing views. I know. I get it. Trust me. Yeah, I've never understood. You know, like people can act like that, but
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, what does your family think about your obsession with this topic?
well, honestly, it's not too big of a deal. They don't judge me too much. I don't really talk with my family, and this was before all that. This is kind of a different thing, but I mean, I guess it kind of ran together in a way. But I have friends and stuff that I work with, and I tell them this stuff all the time, and yeah, they'll listen. And some people will debate me, some people will argue with me, and like just like arguments with me and you, the debates with me and you, it never really goes anywhere, and I don't really take it to heart, and they don't take it to heart, and it's basically just a discussion just to have a good time and fuck around.
Yeah, my thought, Andrew, is just be careful. I mean, I've literally seen people destroy their relationships with their family, with their friends, because they get so passionate about it and they end up destroying their relationships.
Yeah,
Even my extended. Yeah.
No offense to interrupt, and I understand that, but also at the same time, if I got a group of people around me and say all of a sudden I'm a flat earther and I got all this information, all this knowledge, and they don't like it, really at that point I don't really care. It's not a big deal. If you're going to switch yourself off like that, then that's your loss. I could care less. I'm honestly, it'd be like you're better off in a sense.
Yeah.
And I hope people understand that, and I hope people realize that, because if there's somebody that's saying that they're family, and all because all of a sudden that you assume you have this newfound information and they don't like it and they push themselves away, or they do these little little things to maybe like keep you away from it or whatever, that's not family to me. Like, it wouldn't be family to me. And I don't understand how anyone can respond to someone and say, hey, yeah, that's my cousin, but he hates me because I do this and I do that.
Yeah.
Now, I can understand, maybe I got on some drugs or something, LSD, got strung out, stole money, and your family hates you for it. Okay, yeah. But religion, science, things like that, people switching their minds and just saying, oh well, that just like you ain't family after that. Like, if you got to take it to that point and that level in your mentality, to me, like, good riddance. Like, bye.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could hear it. My cat was demanding that I let him inside.
But anyways, hey,
Oh my goodness, that cat is big.
It was good
That's
talking with you
big
guys. McToon, great seeing you again. Loved it.
But yeah, please, Andrew, get out there, do some
One
of your
question for
experiments. Back, show us what you found. It's gotten old. You come in, you make a lot of claims, but you never actually show us anything you've done. So let's try to turn it around.
Well, a lot of my claims stem from the information that's already given. So I'm going in there and I'm looking at the information that's been given to me, and I'm seeing a lot of flaws. Now you're going to say, well, I don't really see flaws. And then some of the things that I do bring up that maybe you're not intelligent enough to have a debate over, or whatever the reason is, those flaws are still there regardless. And until someone points out and fixes these flaws in the globe model, it's not an accurate model. And until that happens, you're going to have people like me going in, looking at this information and saying, oh, wait, 770 degrees, magnetism is lost, Earth's inner core, 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's just things like that
all
don't
right.
add up.
I can't let that, Andrew, I can't let that go. That's not the claim. That is not the claim. You just don't understand it. You didn't do your own research.
Right, see, and then it goes back to me not understanding it, but
absolutely.
we all can clearly read
I'll explain it. I'll explain it to you, and then you can go do your own research if you're going to. It's not that it's a permanent magnet like this magnet. That's not what it is. It's moving.
It's a magnet strong enough to tell me which direction's north.
It's a moving liquid metal that generates an electromagnetic field.
Around the solid inner core.
It's been done in a lab.
You got molten iron moving.
It's mostly nickel.
By metal.
Yeah.
Not only that, but iron melts at 2,000 degrees.
Okay, and so it's liquid metal moving that generates it. It's been confirmed in a lab.
Right.
So you are claiming
solid iron core.
You are asserting that we claim it's a solid magnet like this that's not melted. That is not the claim. So you are just strawmanning the globe. That's all you're doing, Andrew. When you strawman the globe, it shows how weak your position is.
No, it's an inner core. There's an inner core. There's an inner core.
But nobody claims the inner core is the source of the magnetism.
Yes.
Go with the actual claim instead of strawmanning the claim. Okay? Look it up, Andrew. Look at what is actually claimed instead of what your Papa Flurf told you. Okay?
There is no, I am the Papa Flurf.
You are not, no. You're just parroting all the other Flurfs. Right? This came from Eric Dubay.
Who parrots 770 degrees magnetism?
Everybody. All the Flurfs do. This is video number 340 something for me. I've heard it dozens of times.
Magnets lost from me because I've never seen I've never seen anyone post a single post in these groups in the past 2 years.
I have 300 debates. You can pull them up. Witsit tried bringing it up. All right. One question Lael asked for you, Andrew. If you could only see 3 miles, how far away is the sun?
Yeah, well, the sun is probably, I don't know if it's a refraction of light. I do know it's a chemical imbalance between, let's see.
Chemical imbalance. I think that's the key.
I'd almost say
I think we're onto something.
I'd almost say at least, that's a tough one because I do know the fact that if you launch yourself into the stratosphere, that the sun becomes visible for 24 hours, 7 days a week.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. Do it anytime. You can launch a weather balloon into the stratosphere and you'll see the sun 24/7.
No,
guaranteed, 100%.
Even the ISS, which is above the stratosphere, doesn't see the sun 24/7.
That's not a thing. All right, Andrew, thank you for coming.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, all right. So you guys can stick around. I'm just gonna wrap it up here. Everybody, I'm hosting Bob the Science Guy at about an hour, and then at just before midnight Central Time, I'm going to start the live stream watching the Artemis launch. So hopefully that doesn't get delayed. But everybody, thank you for stopping along. Thank you to Andrew and Robert for this good non dumpster fire. So we hope to have both of you back.
It was a non-dumpster fire? Non?
Oh, this is not bad at all.
Yeah, I don't seek them out for sure.
No.
So all right.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
I'll catch y'all later.
We'll see y'all later. All right. Bye.
Good night.